Yo, what's up, internet? I wanted to give y'all a quick little tutorial on how to create this. So this is a game menu animation that I created in Blender for RDC World. It was on their latest skit that they created for like a game developer skit on YouTube. Did a good amount of views, and there were some people that looked at it and they kind of reviewed it. This guy named RunEscaper, YouTuber, go check him out. I'll link his stuff down below. But he ended up reacting to their video and like pointed out the animation that I did for them, and wanted a.
We actually have 100 modes, and one of those modes is called simple mode. In the simple mode, actually have 100 modes, and one of those modes
he wanted like a little tutorial from it, so
mode.
that's why I'm making this video. So as you can see, like it's really quick, really simple. But there's a lot of little tricks to it. There's a lot of little technical little things about it.
Too complex. Too in the back. So in this game, we actually have 100 modes, and one of those modes is called simple mode.
All right, cool. So I won't show y'all. I did the audio design for it as well, but I won't. In this tutorial, I'm not going to show y'all how to do the audio design. This is pretty much just the animation. If y'all want to know, I can show y'all. I use Ableton. I'll make another tutorial for it. But anyways, here we go. So this is the project file that I have in Blender of this animation. This is pretty much it for the most part. How this moves. So now let's go watch. You know, it's like wheel. And then we have the side menu. And then we have like the cursor. So I'll show you how to make each three of those things. We'll start off with the cursor, then we'll go to the side menu, and then we'll go to the wheel. So let's get right into it. I don't want this tutorial to last too long. So we have the cursor here, right? We have this guy. The cursor here. So this cursor, as you see, like I'm just pressing play right now, and it automatically has this like looping animation going on. I'll show y'all how to make that in the next section. But anyway, so all this is right here is a plane. If y'all familiar with Blender, plane is just like one of the simplest type of objects to create. It's literally just a one-sided, and then you just kind of create a size for it that you want. And so what I'm doing is I'm pressing S and Z to scale it on the Z axis, S and X to scale on the X axis, and S and Y to scale on the Y axis. So what I would do is also I would hit Tab, go into edit mode, and when you go into edit mode, you can actually edit the geometry of whatever mesh you're working on. Right now I'm selecting the different edges. If I want to select vertices, I can select the vertices. And if I want to select the faces, I can select the face. I can select just the whole face. Boom. So what I'm gonna do is just for the sake of showing y'all kind of what it looks like, I'm gonna extrude this so it's 3D. So let's extrude it, let's make it 3D. Cool. I might be able to see a little bit better full screen. So y'all can see these edges here, right? Oh, shift button. Cool. So, why is my shift button? Oh no, 3D cursor object. Okay, here we go. Cool. All right, so these are edges, right? I'm not gonna spend too much time on the basics. So when you create a wireframe modifier, it'll actually create a geometry around each of those edges that are on your mesh. If I go here and generate wireframe, add it here, you'll see see a mesh generated around each of the edges, and you know, you can offset this stuff, you can change the thickness of it and whatnot to get it to look a certain way. And so what I did was I created a wireframe modifier, and then I made the material a glowing kind of material, so that you can see it. Same thing with here. This is actually a 2D image that I had just uploaded into Blender. And so Blender, you can import 2D images as like a plane. Just like what you saw right there, that like the 2D plane, you can do the same thing with the image. You can just import the image. If it's 16:9, it will show up as a 16:9 plane. If it's vertical, it will show up as a vertical plane. You can do stuff from there. So all I did was I imported the image, and then I cut down the image to just the part that I wanted. And then I just matched the material. So that's it for the cursor. For the side panel, it's really easy. Like we mentioned about the planes earlier, it's just like 3 planes. We have this back plane back here. We have this plane that I'm using as like just like an accent kind of. And I'm using another little skinnier plane as an accent as well. And then we just have text. We just have text objects. So you know, if I press Control A, import a text. I'm not gonna spend too much time on the little stuff, but yeah, you just add a text object. Hit R and X to rotate, and then 90 to rotate it on the X axis by 90 degrees to align it with the camera. And then from here, I can size it, whatever. I can press tab again to whatever I want. Boom. And then I'll line it up here, change the font, whatever. Boom. Right. So all these are just text objects. Nothing special. Type. And another cursor, like I showed you before. So boom, text object, boom, text object, and cursor. And this cursor in particular, you'll see that it like moves on its own. Like I'll hit play, and it's just on a constant looping animation, as I mentioned before. And so this is how you get that to work. So what you can do is you can animate anything, you know, using keyframes. So say if I start on frame 0, I set it here, I move it to wherever I want, and then I hit I for insert keyframe, and then I set location, right? And then I would move forward a couple frames and then move it to wherever else I want, and then press I and insert another keyframe in that location. And then what you can do is, these are the keyframes right here, right? Kind of got a full screen, so you might not be able to see that well. These are the keyframes right here. 1, so hard track, 2, 3, 4, right? All these 4 keyframes are what make up the animation. It's like it goes forward, and then it comes back to its like rest position, and then it loops again. So what you would do is you select all the keyframes that you want in your animation, and you hit Shift E for your extrapolation, set F curve extrapolation, and then you would go down to make cyclic. And make cyclic literally just loops everything that you have. So if I were to like look closer at the graph editor, you would see that this animation is like looping across the whole thing. So boom, you see if I adjust this one knob, it adjusts it for the whole thing. So you can create animations that are looping for the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So like if I hit play, you can see the difference. It'll actually go up further. The further I go up on this thing, the farther it's gonna go out. The shorter it's gonna go. If I bring this here, it'll have a really fast start up, and then it'll ease back. And then if I do it this way, it'll be the opposite. It'll ease up, and then have it fast going back. And then if I go this way down, it'll go backwards. So there's different ways you can play with animation using timing and, you know, keyframes and stuff like that. So, you know, you can get a lot out of just changing the timing of your keyframes. Honestly, putting on a loop is a really easy way to adjust your animation, especially if it's already a loop animation. Just figuring out the time. Okay, anyways, let's get back to the other part. So this is the more difficult part. Let's keep this thing moving. This is this rotating wheel. This rotating wheel is made up of a few planes, just like I mentioned before, and how I extruded it. So these are extruded planes, each of these little boxes. So this whole thing started off as one box, and I created an array, which is like a way to make a repeating object. it's a modifier that'll let you repeat one object multiple times. So if I create an array for this object, I have a modifier in this properties panel here. Add modifier, generate array, and then I can literally go up and I can set this count to make an array in whatever direction I want. Go in that direction, maybe go in that direction, left, right, whatever. And then you can adjust stuff. But the other part that I did was I made an array, but I also set the array to interact with this circle here, this big Ferris wheel circle. So you can create an array, but what you do is you set the array to a curve and you can add a curve modifier. So what a curve modifier does, it'll allow your object to interact with one of these guys. This is a curve. This is one of different types of curve. This is particularly a Bezier or circle curve. So it's a curve that is just a perfect circle, and you can use it for things. I like to use it for, you can set up stages like this, right? If I move this here, boom, you know, now this thing is rotating around in a circle this way. You know what I'm saying? You can use curves for a lot of stuff. Anyways, the way I use it for this was, as you can see, like a Ferris wheel, like a pinwheel kind of thing. And so what I did was actually set up one of these objects. Advanced Blender users already know this stuff. You already know how to set up curves and stuff. So I'm gonna keep it pretty simple. You would set up this object. If I had this object as one object by itself, I'm not gonna undo the whole project right now. You would line the object, the origin point of this object with the curve. And your origin point is the center of your object. It's the pivot point of your object. It's the anchor point. If you're used to like Photoshop and stuff like that, it will be the anchor point of your object. So it can exist anywhere in 3D space, but you have to make sure that your anchor point is lined up with the anchor point of the actual circle you're rotating. Because if it's not, it'll actually deform in the wrong way. So anyways, what I did was I had created first. I didn't create the text. I created the wheel first, and the text is parented to the wheel. That's the only reason why the text is moving alongside the wheel. So I created each of these planks first, and the planks were literally just like I showed y'all before, an array modifier that like how this one goes up and down, but it's curved around. It's, you know, same thing as this. It's curved around. Yes, same thing as that. You see like this, but with a curve modifier attached to it. Deform, curve, like curve. I had the Bezier circle, so you see how it's interacting? It's getting a curve in it right now. But depending on where this object is in comparison to that circle is also going to affect the deformation of your curve. So you might have to play with it a little bit and line it up. But yeah, it'll do something like that. So anyways, let me get this. Okay, so what I did was after I made that curve line up with the wheel, I applied the curve, and so it's no longer a modifier anymore. It is now a part of the actual object. Now the actual object has each one of these planks as a separate part of the same object. And what I did was I took the text object on here, and I lined it up with whatever plank was facing the camera. So I did that. I did it the more slower way. And then I moved it up a little bit, and then I copied it, I slid it down, I retyped it, and then I parented it to the curve. So when you parent an object, you're pretty much attaching it to another object. You're not joining them, you're just like kind of attaching it, like so like, and this thing, it's already parented, so I was, sorry for it's gonna move with it. So that's what I did. I just literally moved the thing, copied it down, and then parented it, and copied it down, switched the text, and did the whole thing. As you can see as well, the text fades away towards the bottom of the camera. That's another little advanced technique. So when I went into the actual materials for the text, I had set the material to as a gradient, but I also set the parameters of the gradient to fade right around the borders of the screen, and give it a little bit more of a video game feel, and just to kind of clean it up a little bit. But yeah, that's it for the most part. It's nothing too crazy, but there are some like little tricks to kind of get it to work like that smoothly on its own. and by setting it up that way. And even when it comes in, it's just the animated. Once everything was already set up, it was easy for me to animate this now, because if I move this one object, it moves everything now because everything's parented off of one another. So, you know, if I slide it this way and I make it small, and then when it comes into the screen, it does the opposite. You know, that's how we get it to work. So also just little things like getting it to kind of tick and kind of go up and up like that, and kind of have that little jagged, kind of not jagged, but kind of like bouncy kind of rotation. It's in how I animated the interpolation of the stuff. I actually do a lot of like back interpolation, so I overshoot. So I'll make the object go a little bit further than where it's supposed to be, and then it comes back a little bit. It just gives a little bit more offshoot, and then it comes back, and then it offshoots, and then it comes back. Kind of just gives it a little bit more bounce. It's kind of boom, boom, boom. Anyways, I don't want this to last too long. Just want to help y'all out, get y'all maybe inspired to try some new things out in Blender. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you soon.